The grand ballroom of the Skyline Tower was buzzing with excitement. The annual Empire Gala was not just any charity event. It was the pinnacle of high society. Guests from the world's most powerful companies, top politicians, and the richest families mingled under chandeliers that sparkled like stars. The room was a sea of tuxedos and evening gowns, the hum of polite conversations and clinking glasses filling the air. Nathaniel Carter, CEO of Carter Enterprises, stood at the center of the room, a figure of poise and control. At 32, Nathaniel had already secured his place among the elite, overseeing one of the largest tech conglomerates in the world. His dark, well-groomed hair and piercing blue eyes made him stand out. But it wasn't just his looks or wealth that commanded attention, it was his presence. People respected him, even feared him, and his decisions influenced the course of industries. But despite all his success, Nathaniel couldn't ignore the growing sense of emptiness within him. He had dedicated years of his life to building his empire, only to realize that, at the end of the day, he was still alone. There was no one to share his triumphs, no one who truly understood the cost of his ambitions. As Nathaniel surveyed the room, his gaze fell upon Isabella "Bella" Parker, standing by the bar with a glass of champagne in hand. Unlike most of the women at the gala, Bella wasn't trying to impress anyone. She had an air of quiet confidence that immediately caught his attention. Her golden hair shimmered in the light, cascading down her back in soft waves, while her emerald green eyes sparkled with intelligence. Bella wasn't just beautiful. She exuded an aura of warmth and self-assuredness that made her stand apart. Her black velvet gown hugged her frame perfectly, yet it was her genuine smile and effortless charm that captured Nathaniel's interest. For a moment, Nathaniel stood still, watching her as she engaged in conversation with a group of guests. He had never been one to easily approach women, but there was something about Bella that drew him in. Her energy was unlike anything he had encountered before, and in that moment, he felt an urge to break his usual composed demeanor and step into her world. He moved toward the bar, where Bella stood alone now, her gaze out the window at the city lights below. As Nathaniel approached, he was surprised to find himself a little nervous, a rare feeling for a man so accustomed to power. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his voice calm yet sincere. Bella turned toward him, raising an eyebrow. "I thought you might be too busy for a conversation, Mr. Carter." Nathaniel smiled, his eyes twinkling. "I'm rarely too busy for a good conversation, especially when it's with someone who seems... interesting." Bella chuckled softly, a sound that seemed to make the room feel a little warmer. "Well, I'm not sure I can live up to your expectations." "I'm sure you can," Nathaniel replied smoothly, leaning in slightly. "I've heard of your work. Marketing genius, right?" Bella's eyes narrowed, but her smile remained. "I've worked hard to build my career. I guess it's paying off, but I'm not sure it's all that impressive compared to what you've done." "Impressive doesn't even begin to describe it," Nathaniel said, his tone more serious now. "I've followed Carter Enterprises for years. Your success is unparalleled." "Well," Bella said with a slight shrug, "success is a funny thing, isn't it? Everyone wants it, but very few people know what it costs." Nathaniel paused, taken aback by her bluntness. "You're right about that." For the next hour, the two exchanged stories about business, about life, and the pressures of being in a world where success is measured by numbers. Nathaniel found himself opening up to her in a way he hadn't with anyone in years. There was something refreshing about her honesty, her perspective on success, and the way she saw the world. By the end of the evening, Nathaniel found himself more intrigued by Bella than he had ever been by anyone before. Her beauty was undeniable, but it was her sharp mind and captivating presence that made her unforgettable as the night wore on. Nathaniel's thoughts lingered on Bella. He had been with many women before, wealthy, beautiful, influential, but none had ever challenged him like she did. She made him think, made him question the things he had always taken for granted. But as much as Nathaniel found himself drawn to her, he couldn't ignore the nagging doubt in his mind. He was a man who had learned to guard his emotions, to keep a safe distance from people, especially those who sought something from him. Could Bella be different? He wondered. Was she genuinely interested in him, or was she just another woman trying to use him to climb higher? Before he could find answers to those questions, the next complication arose. Vivian Collins. Nathaniel's attention was snapped back to reality when he saw Vivian Collins approaching. Vivian was the epitome of grace and wealthy, another heiress from a family with a legacy of power. She was strikingly beautiful, and her poise demanded respect. She had long harbored an interest in Nathaniel, and he, too, had entertained the thought of a relationship with her in the past. But where Bella was refreshing, Vivian was calculating. She knew exactly what she wanted and how to get it. And Nathaniel had always known that behind her smiles and compliments, there was ambition that often led her to use people as stepping stones for her own benefit. Vivian approached Nathaniel with her usual charm. "Mr. Carter," she said in a voice that dripped with sweetness, "I've been meaning to speak with you all night." Before Nathaniel could respond, Vivian's gaze shifted toward Bella, who was standing by the window, seemingly lost in thought. Vivian's eyes glinted with a mix of curiosity and challenge. "I see you've found someone interesting," Vivian remarked, her tone casual but sharp. Nathaniel followed her gaze, a flicker of unease crossing his mind. He wasn't sure what Vivian's intentions were, but he had a feeling that this was only the beginning of something that would complicate everything. Days turned into weeks, and Nathaniel found himself spending more and more time with Bella. Their conversations, initially centered around work and business, had shifted to more personal topic streams, fears, and the things they valued in life. Bella had proven to be more than just a businesswoman. She was someone who understood the pressures of success and the toll it took on relationships. Nathaniel began to open up to her, sharing stories of his childhood, his late father, and his rise to power. Bella listened with genuine interest, and in return, Nathaniel felt seen in a way that he hadn't in years. Despite their growing connection, something inside Nathaniel still held him back. He had been hurt before, betrayed by those he trusted, and the idea of letting someone get too close to him again was terrifying. He was falling for Bella, but his fears, his past, kept him guarded. He couldn't allow himself to lose control again. However, just as things began to feel right with Bella, another presence started to make itself known. Vivian Collins had always been around Nathaniel's circle, but recently, her attention toward him had been more pointed, more deliberate. She would appear at every event they attended, every business meeting, every social gathering, always with a smile that felt too calculated to be genuine. Nathaniel had never been interested in Vivian, beyond their past acquaintanceship, but her persistence was beginning to get under his skin. She had a way of making people feel like they were the most important person in the room, and with Nathaniel, she turned on the charm like a light switch. It was no surprise when Vivian invited him to a private dinner at 1 of the most exclusive restaurants in the city. It was the kind of invitation Nathaniel usually couldn't refuse, especially with business and connections at stake. But as the night wore on, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off as they sat across from each other at the dimly lit table. Vivian's conversation was filled with praise for Nathaniel's achievements, but every compliment, every smile, felt a little too strategic, a little too rehearsed. She was always trying to position herself in a way that made it seem like she was essential to his success. "You've done amazing things with Carter Enterprises, Nathaniel," she said, leaning in slightly, her eyes glinting with admiration. "But I think you and I both know that there's more to be done. You can't just stop here. You need someone by your side who truly understands the big picture." Nathaniel raised an eyebrow. "I have a great team, Vivian. I'm doing just fine." "Of course you do," she responded quickly. "But you need someone who can take you to the next level. Someone who understands not just business, but your vision, your future. You're not just a CEO anymore, Nathaniel. You're a leader. A true leader needs a partner, someone who can help carry that weight." Nathaniel felt the subtle pressure in her words, but he ignored it. "I already have someone who understands me," he replied firmly, his mind automatically drifting to Bella. She understood him, his struggles, his fears. Vivian's smile didn't waver, but there was a flicker of something cold in her eyes. "I see. Someone who thinks they understand you," she said softly, her voice like silk. "But do they really, Nathaniel? Do they know what it's like to run a business empire? To make decisions that affect not just your future, but the future of countless people?" The challenge in her words was unmistakable. Nathaniel leaned back in his chair, sensing the game she was playing. "I appreciate your concern, but I'm doing fine on my own." Vivian's smile widened, but there was something predatory in it. "Of course, you are," she said, then casually added, "but it's a shame. You and Bella seem so happy together. But happiness doesn't always last, does it? Especially when the stakes are as high as they are." Nathaniel's heart skipped a beat. He immediately knew where this was going. Vivian wasn't just trying to sell herself as a partner in business. She was trying to sell herself as the one who belonged beside him, as if Bella was nothing more than an obstacle in her path. The following days were filled with tension. Vivian's presence in Nathaniel's life had become more obvious. She made subtle but calculated comments about Bella, questioning her ability to handle the pressures of being with someone as powerful as Nathaniel. She planted seeds of doubt in his mind, claiming that Bella's focus on her career made her too busy for a relationship. "Does she ever truly see you, Nathaniel?" Vivian asked one day during a casual meeting. "I mean, does she really understand the sacrifices you make, the demands on your time? She's always so caught up in her own world, and who can blame her? But it can't be easy for you, can it?" Nathaniel shook his head, brushing off the comment. He didn't want to believe it, but the more Vivian planted these ideas, the more he started to question himself. Meanwhile, Bella had noticed the shift in Nathaniel. He was distant, distracted, and he began pulling away from her. She tried to confront him about it, but Nathaniel, unsure of his feelings and the pressure mounting on him, dismissed her concerns. "Everything's fine, Bella, just work stuff," Nathaniel would say, his tone evasive, even though deep down, he knew that his feelings were being clouded by doubt that Vivian had carefully nurtured. One evening, after a particularly strained dinner, Nathaniel found himself alone, staring out at the city skyline from his office. His mind was racing, torn between the woman he thought he could trust and the woman who seemed to want to take everything from him. He couldn't deny the growing connection he felt with Vivian. She was intelligent, ambitious, and undeniably attractive, but deep down, he knew something wasn't right. He had started to doubt his relationship with Bella, and that hurt him more than he was willing to admit. His thoughts were interrupted when he received a message from Bella. "We need to talk. I can't keep pretending that everything's fine." His chest tightened. He had been avoiding her, trying to figure out where his feelings lay, but now it was time to face the truth. The next morning, Nathaniel sat at his desk, staring blankly at the stack of reports in front of him. His mind kept wandering back to the dinner he'd had with Vivian the night before. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, like he was being led down a path he hadn't chosen for himself. But the more he tried to focus on the facts, the more his mind wandered back to Bella. He had been avoiding her, trying to work through the feelings of doubt and uncertainty that Vivian had sown in his mind. He knew deep down that he couldn't continue like this, living in limbo between two women, one who had his heart and the other who was slowly creeping into his life with ambition and charm. Just as Nathaniel stood up to call Bella, his phone rang. It was a text from her. "We need to talk. I can't keep pretending that everything's fine." Nathaniel's chest tightened. He knew this conversation was coming, but he wasn't ready for it. He needed to face her, but he also knew it meant coming face to face with the reality of what was happening to their relationship. Bella deserved the truth, even if it was painful. Later that afternoon, Nathaniel met Bella in a quiet cafe, away from the prying eyes of the business world. The moment he saw her, his heart ached. Bella looked tired, her eyes swollen as if she hadn't slept in days. She was always so composed, so put together, but today she seemed vulnerable, broken. "I don't know what's going on with us, Nathaniel," Bella began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "You've been distant, and I can feel it. I don't understand why, but I feel like you're pulling away from me. Like you've already made your decision without even telling me." Nathaniel's throat tightened. He wanted to reach out, to explain everything, but the words wouldn't come. "Bella, He started, but he couldn't finish. She shook her head, her eyes welling with tears. "Is it her, Nathaniel? Is it Vivian? I see how she looks at you, how she's always there, always trying to get closer to you. I can't pretend I don't see it." The words cut through him like a blade. He hadn't realized how much Bella had been watching, how much she had noticed. But what hurt even more was the fact that he couldn't deny her feelings. "I don't know what to say," Nathaniel confessed, his voice full of regret. "Vivian has been in my life for years, and lately she's been making me question a lot of things. I didn't want you to get caught in this. I never wanted to hurt you, Bella." Bella wiped a tear away, her eyes filled with pain. "Nathaniel, I can't be with someone who's uncertain about us. I can't keep living in this limbo. If you're still thinking about her, then maybe we need to take a step back. I love you, but I won't keep waiting for someone who doesn't choose me." Nathaniel's heart sank. He hadn't realized just how much Bella needed him to make a choice, to make the right choice. That evening, as Nathaniel was lost in thought, his phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from Vivian. "I hope we can meet tomorrow. I have something important to discuss." Nathaniel clenched his fists. He had been avoiding Vivian for days now, trying to keep his distance. But she had a way of inserting herself into his life, manipulating him at every turn. He had allowed her too much control, and now he could feel the weight of it pressing down on him the next day. Nathaniel met Vivian at one of the most exclusive restaurants in the city. She was already seated, her back straight and her eyes gleaming with an unspoken confidence. As soon as Nathaniel sat down, she leaned forward with a small smile. "I hope you've been thinking about our conversation." "Nathaniel," Vivian said, her voice smooth like velvet. "You know I can help you. I've always believed in you, and I think you need a partner who truly understands what you're capable of." Nathaniel didn't respond immediately. He could feel the pull of her words, but something in him resisted. "I don't know what you're asking for, Vivian," he said finally. "I've already made my choice. I don't need another partner in business, especially not someone who is only interested in taking control." Vivian's eyes narrowed slightly, but she kept her smile. "Oh, Nathaniel," she said with a hint of amusement. "You think you've made your choice, but I know better. Bella may be good for you in some ways, but she's not cut out for this world. She doesn't understand the pressure, the weight of what it takes to succeed." Nathaniel's fists clenched under the table. He was getting tired of Vivian's insinuations, tired of her constant manipulation. "I don't need you to tell me what's best for me, Vivian. I know what I want, and it's not what you're offering." Vivian's smile faltered for just a moment before it returned, colder now. "I'm sure you think that now," she said, her voice dripping with calculated sweetness. "But just remember, there's always a price to pay for choosing love over power." As Nathaniel left the restaurant, he was consumed by conflicting thoughts. Vivian's words echoed in his mind, but Bella's pain lingered even more. He had to make a decision, and he had to make it soon. When he got back to his penthouse, he received a call from his lawyer, informing him that Vivian had made some aggressive moves to acquire parts of Carter Enterprises under the guise of a business opportunity. It was clear now. Vivian wasn't just interested in Nathaniel's heart, she wanted his empire. Nathaniel slammed the phone down, his mind racing. Vivian had crossed a line. It was time to put an end to her games. Nathaniel sat behind his desk, his fingers tightly gripping the edge as he stared at the stack of documents in front of him. Vivian's moves were no longer subtle. Her intentions were crystal clear. She had been trying to manipulate him for weeks, trying to drive a wedge between him and Bella, while simultaneously trying to secure a hold on his empire. But Nathaniel had finally seen through her facade. She wasn't interested in him. She was interested in his company, in his legacy. And for that, he was willing to fight. His phone buzzed, interrupting his thoughts. The message was from Bella. "We need to talk. Please, don't shut me out." Nathaniel's heart clenched. He had been distant from her, avoiding their conversations, but he knew this was the moment. He needed to make a choice not just for the company, but for the future they could have together. He couldn't let Vivian tear them apart. Later that evening, Bella arrived at Nathaniel's penthouse. The tension between them was palpable, but both knew the time had come for honesty. Bella stood in the doorway, looking at Nathaniel with a mixture of hurt and confusion in her eyes. "You've been distant, Nathaniel," Bella said, her voice soft yet firm. "I know something's going on. I can feel it." Nathaniel stood up, walking toward her, his mind racing with conflicting thoughts. "It's Vivian," he said, his voice tinged with frustration. "She's been manipulating everything. The company, our relationship, everything. She's been trying to take over Carter Enterprises." Bella looked at him, her expression unreadable. And you didn't tell me. You let her get inside your head. Nathaniel sighed, running a hand through his hair. I didn't know what to do. She made me question everything. She's been planting seeds of doubt about you, about us. But I know now. I know what I want. And it's you, Bella. Always you. Tears welled up in Bella's eyes as she reached out to him. Then why didn't you trust me? Why didn't you tell me the truth? Nathaniel stepped closer to her, his heart heavy with regret. I'm sorry. I let my own fears and insecurities get in the way. But I'm done letting her control my life. I'm choosing you, Bella. I always have. Bella's lips curled into a small smile as she wiped away a tear. Then let's face this together. Whatever comes next, we face it side by side. The following day, Nathaniel summoned Vivian to his office. He wasn't going to let her manipulate him anymore. He had built Carter Enterprises from the ground up, and no one, especially not Vivian, was going to tear it apart. Vivian entered the office, her usual calm demeanor replaced with a hint of impatience. Nathaniel, I've been trying to give you time to come to your senses, she said, her voice smooth and controlled. But I can see now that you're not going to listen. You're right, Nathaniel said, his voice steady. I'm not listening, because I've realized what you're doing. You've been using me to get control of my company, and I'm not going to let that happen. Not now, not ever. Vivian's smile faded, but her eyes narrowed with cold calculation. You're making a mistake, Nathaniel. You've always known that power, wealth, and influence are what truly matter. You'll regret turning your back on me. Nathaniel stood tall, his gaze unwavering. No, Vivian. I've seen what's more important. I've seen the difference between what I have with you and what I have with Bella. And Bella is worth more than all the money, power, and control you're offering. Vivian took a step closer, her voice dripping with venom. You'll regret this, Nathaniel. I'll make sure of it. No one turns down Vivian Collins and gets away unscathed. Nathaniel didn't flinch. I'm not afraid of you anymore, Vivian. You've overplayed your hand. Nathaniel wasted no time in securing his position. He contacted his legal team, informing them of Vivian's attempts to sabotage the company and interfere with his personal relationships. Vivian, not one to back down easily, had already attempted to push her own legal agenda to seize parts of Carter Enterprises. But Nathaniel was ready for her. He filed a lawsuit for slander and interference with business operations, citing the multiple instances of manipulation and deceit that Vivian had orchestrated in the background. With the weight of his legal team and the backing of loyal investors, Nathaniel was confident he could stop Vivian's plans once and for all. Vivian, realizing she had underestimated Nathaniel, tried to counterattack with her own legal threats, but it was too late. The public support for Nathaniel was unwavering, and the scandal of her actions quickly spread through the business world. Investors pulled back from her company, and she found herself without allies. In the end, Nathaniel emerged victorious. Vivian was forced to relinquish her claims on Carter Enterprises, and she was publicly discredited for her attempts to manipulate both Nathaniel and the business world, with Vivian's scheme fully exposed. Nathaniel and Bella could finally breathe easy. Their relationship, once on the verge of crumbling under the pressure, now had a firm foundation of trust and mutual respect. They had overcome the greatest threat to their happiness, Vivian's manipulation, and were finally able to move forward together. Nathaniel looked at Bella, his heart filled with gratitude. We did it together. Bella smiled, her eyes filled with love. We always will. They stood together, hand in hand, knowing that the future was theirs to build without fear, without manipulation, and without regret. The victory against Vivian Collins had been hard-earned, but it wasn't over. Though Nathaniel and Bella had managed to stop Vivian's schemes and protect Carter Enterprises, the battle had left scars. The press had picked up the story of the corporate sabotage and Nathaniel's legal victory, turning it into a public spectacle. For some, it was a testament to Nathaniel's strength, his ability to rise above manipulation and power plays. For others, it was a reminder of just how much was at stake for a man in his position, and how easily his empire could have been taken away. Nathaniel and Bella, however, were more concerned with each other than the press. They had survived the storm, but now they needed to rebuild the trust that had been tested by betrayal and doubt. Despite their strong connection, there was a lingering unease. Bella had seen Nathaniel's vulnerability, his moments of indecision, and she knew that the battle wasn't just over for him, it had changed him. Deeply, for Nathaniel, the weight of responsibility had never felt heavier. The world expected him to be perfect, to be a CEO who never faltered, a man who never lost control. But now, with Bella by his side, he realized that the things he had worked so hard to protect were worth nothing without the woman he loved. He had to make a choice whether to continue living in the shadow of his past mistakes or to truly embrace the life he had started to build with her. One afternoon, as the business settled back into a stable rhythm, Nathaniel invited Bella to a quiet dinner at his penthouse. He had planned it meticulously, no distractions, no work, just the two of them, like they used to be. But despite his best intentions, Bella could sense something was off. As the evening wore on, they talked, laughed, and reminisced about the good times they had shared before everything had gone awry. But there was still a cloud hanging over them, an unsaid truth that Nathaniel had been avoiding. "Nathaniel," Bella said softly, setting her glass of wine down, "I know things have been difficult, and I'm not blaming you for anything, but I need to know, are you really ready for this? For us, or are you still holding on to the past?" Nathaniel's heart sank. He had known this conversation was coming. He had been running from it, hoping that time would heal the wounds, but time alone couldn't fix what had been broken. "I am ready, Bella," he said, his voice low but steady. "I've been through a lot. I've seen the cost of what happens when you put everything into ambition and power. But I know now that none of that matters without you, without us." Bella looked into his eyes, searching for the truth in his words. She had loved him for so long, but the scars from their past were still there. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust him again. But after everything that had happened, could she really? "You say that now, but Nathaniel, you're still the man who sacrificed everything for power. The man who let me slip away because of your fear. I need you to prove that you're different, that you're not going to let everything come before me again." Nathaniel felt a pang of guilt. He had let his ambitions blind him before. He had pushed Bella away when she needed him the most. And now it was time to show her that he was truly changed. "I'll prove it to you, Bella," he said firmly. "Every day. I won't let you go again, I promise." Just as they began to find some semblance of peace, the shadows of the past crept back in. Vivian Collins had been dealt with, but her influence was still felt in the business world. Whispers began to circulate about her, how she had used Nathaniel's company for her own gain, how she had tried to tear him apart. It was only a matter of time before someone would seek revenge or try to take advantage of the chaos Vivian had caused. Nathaniel's phone buzzed late one night, pulling him out of his thoughts. It was a message from his lawyer. "We need to talk about an urgent issue regarding Vivian's assets." There's been a new development. Nathaniel's heart dropped. Even though he had dealt with Vivian, he knew she wouldn't go down without a fight. She would find another way to disrupt his life. The next morning, Nathaniel called for an emergency meeting with his board and legal team. It turned out that Vivian had hidden a significant portion of her assets under a false identity. And now that she was out of the picture, certain investors had begun to rally behind her cause, hoping to claim a piece of Carter Enterprises. The corporate war wasn't over. Vivian's legacy of manipulation was still alive. To make matters worse, some members of Nathaniel's own team were suspected of colluding with Vivian. This put not only the company at risk, but also his personal and professional relationships. "I should have known this would happen," Nathaniel muttered to himself as he reviewed the reports. His frustration was mounting. He had just fought to protect everything he loved, only to find it was all still under threat. Bella entered the office as he was pacing back and forth, looking stressed. She saw the worry on his face and immediately stepped toward him. "What's going on, Nathaniel? Talk to me." "It's not over, Bella," he said, his voice heavy with defeat. "Vivian's influence is still here. Some people are trying to tear apart everything we've built. I don't know if I can protect you from this again." Bella took his hand, her grip firm and unwavering. "You won't have to do it alone. We'll face it together. You're not in this by yourself, Nathaniel. We've already been through so much." Nathaniel looked at her, seeing the same fierce determination in her eyes. For the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of calm. He knew that whatever happened, they would face it together, and for that, he was willing to fight like never before. After the tension of the past few days, things seemed to settle back into a fragile calm. Nathaniel and Bella found themselves leaning on each other more than ever, finding solace in their shared moments. Though there were still whispers in the business world and lingering threats on the horizon, they had come to a place of understanding. Bella had stood by Nathaniel through the chaos, offering him the love and support he needed to focus on rebuilding the empire that Vivian had tried to destroy. But, as much as they tried to move forward, there was still the undercurrent of anxiety, the feeling that their peace was temporary. The situation with Vivian, though seemingly resolved, still loomed like a storm cloud overhead. And as much as Nathaniel wanted to ignore the whispers, he knew that there were enemies in the shadows waiting to pounce. A week later, Nathaniel sat in his office, reviewing quarterly reports, when his phone buzzed with an unexpected message. It was from one of his top investors. "Nathaniel, we need to discuss some serious concerns regarding recent financial irregularities. It's critical. Meet me at my office at 2 p.m. Nathaniel's stomach churned. He knew exactly what this was about. The rumors about Vivian and her influence had made their way to his investors. They were now questioning his leadership, wondering if he could continue to keep his business intact. He glanced at Bella, who was sitting across the room, reviewing marketing strategies for the company's new campaign. He hadn't told her about the message yet, and he wasn't sure how to bring it up. He didn't want to drag her into the storm again, but he knew he couldn't keep the weight of this on his own. After a deep breath, he walked over to her. "Bella, I need to go meet with one of our investors. There's something serious I need to handle." Bella looked up, her expression softening. "Is it about the company?" Nathaniel hesitated for a moment. "Yes, it's about the financial concerns I mentioned before. I'll handle it, but I need you to know that I'm doing everything I can to protect everything we've built. Bella stood up and walked over to him, placing her hand on his arm. Nathaniel, you don't have to do this alone. We've been through so much already. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together. Nathaniel's heart warmed at her words. For the first time in a long while, he felt the comfort of having someone by his side, someone who wasn't just there for the perks or the power, but someone who genuinely cared about him. I'll be back soon, he said softly, kissing her forehead before walking out the door, the weight of the world once again on his shoulders. As Nathaniel walked into the office of his investor, Richard Mason, he immediately sensed the tension in the room. Mason, a longtime friend and business ally, was sitting at his desk with a serious expression. Mason, Nathaniel greeted him, his voice guarded. You wanted to see me. Mason didn't respond immediately, but gestured for Nathaniel to sit down. We need to talk about the recent financial discrepancies. There's been a lot of rumors going around, Nathaniel. Your company's stability is being questioned, and we're worried about the future. We need you to clear things up. Nathaniel clenched his fists, trying to stay calm. He had anticipated this moment. Investors didn't like uncertainty, and Vivian's actions had planted seeds of doubt in their minds. I'm aware of the rumors, Nathaniel replied, his voice steady. I've already taken steps to address them. But what I need from you, Mason, is your trust. This company is mine, and I will protect it. I've learned the hard way that trust is earned, and I've worked hard to earn the trust of my investors. Mason leaned back in his chair, his eyes narrowing. I'm not questioning your leadership, Nathaniel. But what I'm seeing here is a man trying to juggle too many things at once. Business, love, family. It's not easy. You have to decide what you really want. Nathaniel's chest tightened at the insinuation. Mason wasn't just questioning his business acumen. He was questioning his ability to balance his personal life with his career. It was a blow, but Nathaniel couldn't afford to back down. I've already made my choice, Nathaniel said, his voice low but resolute. And I'm choosing the company and my future. I won't let anyone tear this down, least of all Vivian. Mason didn't respond immediately. He simply nodded, but Nathaniel could see the skepticism in his eyes. The meeting ended without a resolution, and Nathaniel left the office with a heavy heart. His fight wasn't just with Vivian, it was with the people he trusted most. As Nathaniel left the meeting, he received a call from Bella. Nathaniel, we need to talk. It's urgent. Nathaniel's heart skipped a beat. I'm on my way back now. What's going on? Come home as soon as you can, Bella said, her voice shaking. I think someone has been trying to hurt us. There's something I need to show you. When Nathaniel arrived at his penthouse, he found Bella pacing back and forth, her face pale with worry. What happened? Nathaniel asked, rushing toward her. I went through the records, Nathaniel, Bella said, holding up a folder. I found something strange mails between Vivian and one of your investors. She's been feeding them information about UA, about us trying to make it seem like you're unstable, unfit to lead Carter Enterprises. Nathaniel's blood ran cold. Vivian had been playing a deeper game than he had realized. This wasn't just about sabotaging his personal life. This was about his entire legacy, his empire. The moment Nathaniel read through the folder Bella handed him, his heart sank. The emails between Vivian and the investor were damning. Vivian had been pulling strings from behind the scenes, playing a game far more dangerous than he had anticipated. The scheme was far-reaching. and her plan to undermine Nathaniel's leadership of Carter Enterprises was becoming clearer by the day. He couldn't believe how deeply Vivian had infiltrated every aspect of his life, from his business to his personal relationships. Nathaniel had once trusted her, even entertained the idea of a future together, but now he could see that it was all part of her grand design, her ambition to control everything he had worked for. Vivian won't stop, will she? Bella asked quietly, her eyes filled with both concern and determination. She won't just let this go. Nathaniel stood up, running a hand through his hair in frustration. No, she won't. She never does. But this time, I won't let her win. He turned to face Bella, his expression intense. I can't let her take everything from me again. Not my company, and certainly not my future with you. Bella's heart swelled with emotion. She had seen the man Nathaniel used to be the man consumed by power and ambition. But now, she saw the man who had learned from his mistakes and was willing to fight for what truly mattered. I'm with you, Nathaniel, Bella said, her voice resolute. I've always been. We'll fight this together. The next morning, Nathaniel received a phone call that only confirmed his worst fears. The same investor who had been working with Vivian was now pulling his support from Carter Enterprises, citing unforeseen risks that Nathaniel couldn't control. This was no coincidence. Vivian had managed to sway the very people who had helped Nathaniel rise to the top. Vivian is playing a dangerous game, Nathaniel muttered, staring at the phone screen as if it were his last lifeline. She's not just after my company, she's after my legacy. Bella, standing next to him, was already formulating a plan. You need to take back control, Nathaniel. It's time to fight back with everything you've got. But Nathaniel was hesitant. He had already sacrificed so much for his empire, and now it seemed that everything was slipping through his fingers. For the first time in a long while, he was questioning whether his success was worth losing the people he loved. I won't let her destroy everything, Nathaniel said, his voice steady but filled with resolve. But I won't do it the way I did before. This time, I do it with honor. I won't fight for the wrong reasons. Nathaniel's patience had worn thin. He couldn't let this continue any longer. He arranged a meeting with Vivian, and this time it would be on his terms. As he entered the sleek, glass-walled office where Vivian was waiting, he couldn't help but feel the weight of the situation. This wasn't just about business anymore. It was personal. Vivian looked up from the papers she was casually flipping through and smiled. The same manipulative smile that had charmed him years ago. Nathaniel, she said smoothly, I'm glad you could make it. I was wondering when you'd finally see reason. I've seen more than enough, Nathaniel replied, his voice firm. I know exactly what you've been doing, Vivian. Trying to tear down everything I've built, using people I trust to get to me. And now, you've crossed the line. Vivian leaned back in her chair. You don't understand, Nathaniel. This is how the world works. Power is everything. And I'm offering you more of it if you're willing to take it. You're wrong, Nathaniel said, his anger simmering beneath the surface. I'm not playing your game anymore. I don't want the power you're offering. I've realized that the only thing that matters to me now is Bella, and I will fight for her no matter what it takes. Vivian's eyes darkened, and she stood up, walking around the desk toward him. So, it's her now, is it? You'd throw everything away for her. Do you really think you can just walk away from me and expect to have a happy ending? Nathaniel's voice was cold as he met her gaze. You've already lost, Vivian. I'm done with you. You've manipulated me for far too long, and I'm not going to let you tear my life apart again. Not this time. Vivian's smile faltered for a moment, her eyes flashing with anger. But she quickly regained her composure. We'll see about that, she said quietly, her tone icy. I've always known how to get what I want, and if I have to destroy you to get it, I will. Nathaniel turned to leave, his resolve stronger than ever. Vivian's threats didn't scare him anymore. He had faced worse, and now he had something worth fighting for. Nathaniel didn't waste any more time. He immediately contacted his lawyers and began taking steps to secure Carter Enterprises from any further sabotage. He put together a plan to buy back the shares that had been pulled from the company, and he made sure to lock in the legal protections that would prevent anyone from taking advantage of his vulnerabilities. But it wasn't just business. Nathaniel had made up his mind. He wouldn't let Vivian tear apart his future with Bella. He had chosen her not just for her beauty or intelligence, but for the way she made him feel whole. She was the one who had stood by him when things were falling apart, and now it was time for him to return the favor. Later that evening, Nathaniel arrived at Bella's apartment. As he stepped inside, he found her sitting on the couch, waiting for him. The tension in the air was palpable, but there was no doubt in Nathaniel's mind he was done hiding from the truth. I'm not going to let anything come between us again, Nathaniel said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. I've faced everything, Vivian, the company, the pressure, but none of it matters without you. I've chosen you, Bella, always. Bella looked up at him, her eyes filled with relief and love. You have no idea how much I've been waiting for you to say that. Nathaniel smiled and walked over to her, taking her hands in his. I've made mistakes, and I know I can't undo them. But I can promise you this sigh will never let anything come between us again. We'll face everything together. And this time, I'm doing it for us. Bella stood up, her heart swelling with emotion. You don't have to prove anything to me, Nathaniel. I love you, and that's enough. Nathaniel pulled her into his arms, holding her close. For the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of peace. He had faced his demons, and now he was ready to build the life he had always wanted, one where love came first, above all else. A sense of calm had returned to Nathaniel and Bella's lives in the weeks following Vivian's defeat. The business was slowly recovering. The damage caused by Vivian's machinations was being undone, and their relationship had deepened in a way Nathaniel hadn't imagined possible. For the first time in years, he was truly happy. Nathaniel had learned to strike a balance between his professional life and his personal life, and Bella had been the driving force behind that change. They spent more time together, laughing, building a future that wasn't driven by ambition or greed, but by mutual love and respect. Nathaniel had never imagined that something as simple as love could feel so fulfilling. But as the saying went, the calm before the storm. No matter how much they tried to move forward, the past always had a way of coming back. It wasn't over yet. It began with a phone call from Nathaniel's lawyer. The legal team had uncovered something troubling. While Vivian had been publicly discredited and legally disempowered, there were still some powerful figures who had been working behind the scenes to manipulate the situation. Some of the investors who had once supported him were now looking for an opportunity to take advantage of his vulnerability. There are whispers, Nathaniel, the lawyer, had said on the phone. Some of your investors are plotting to take control of the company. Using the legal loopholes Vivian left behind, Nathaniel slammed the phone down, his fists clenching in frustration. The company he had built, the empire he had fought for, was once again under threat. This time, however, there was no turning back. He walked into his office, his mind already racing with plans to take back control. He couldn't afford to lose what he had worked so hard to protect, not just for himself, but for Bella too. She had stood by him through everything, and now he had to make sure that their future together was secure. Bella could sense the change in Nathaniel. Though they had been happy, she knew the calm was temporary. She had seen the weight of responsibility that always hung over Nathaniel's shoulders, and as much as he tried to shield her from it, she could tell something was bothering him. "Nathaniel," she said one evening, her voice gentle but firm. "What's going on? I know something's not right." Nathaniel sat across from her, his hands resting on the table. "There's a new threat to the company. Some investors are trying to take control again, using Vivian's chaos as an excuse. They think I'm weak." Bella leaned forward, her heart aching for him. She had seen him battle his demons before, but this was different. This was his legacy, the very thing that he had sacrificed so much for. She could see how the weight of it all was wearing on him. "You don't have to do this alone, Nathaniel," she said, her voice filled with sincerity. "I'm here, always. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. We've already fought the hardest battle, haven't we?" Nathaniel met her gaze, the love and determination in his eyes shining through. "I can't lose you, Bella. Not now, not ever. You're the only thing in my life that's worth fighting for." Bella smiled, her eyes filling with emotion. "And you're the only person I want to fight for. We'll beat this, Nathaniel, together." Nathaniel knew what he had to do. He couldn't let anyone take away what he had worked for. And he certainly couldn't let anyone come between him and Bella. With Bella by his side, Nathaniel called a meeting with his top investors and legal team to confront the threat head-on. The meeting was held in the company's conference room, a sleek and modern space with glass walls overlooking the city. The investors, some of whom had been with Nathaniel from the beginning, sat around the table, their faces serious. They were clearly anxious about the recent developments. Nathaniel, one of the investors, spoke, his tone cautious. "We're all aware of the challenges you've faced recently. But the question now is whether you can continue to lead Carter Enterprises. You've been distracted, and it's affecting the business." Nathaniel stood tall, his voice firm. "I've always led this company with integrity, and I will continue to do so. But what you need to understand is this Psy won't let anyone tear down what I've built. Not for power, not for money, not for anyone." He turned to face the investors one by one. "And if you think you can use this company as a pawn in your little power game, then you're wrong. I've fought for everything I have, and I won't let anyone take it from me, not without a fight." There was silence in the room, the tension palpable. But Nathaniel's words had cut through the doubt. He wasn't the same man who had been manipulated by Vivian. He was stronger, no fighting for more than just his empire. He was fighting for love, for a future with Bella in the following days. Nathaniel and Bella continued to work together, securing the future of Carter Enterprises. The legal battles were tough, but Nathaniel's resolve was unwavering. He made sure that every loophole was closed, every threat was neutralized, and the company was protected from those who sought to take it from him. Vivian's name was never mentioned again in any business dealings. She had been defeated, not just by Nathaniel's legal team, but by his unyielding spirit to protect the things that mattered most. As the storm finally passed, Nathaniel and Bella found themselves standing on solid ground once again. The future that had once seemed so uncertain now appeared bright and full of possibilities. The company was thriving, and more importantly, their relationship had grown stronger than ever. They stood on the balcony of Nathaniel's penthouse, looking out over the city as the sun set, the last light of day painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. "I never imagined it would end like this," Nathaniel said quietly, his arm wrapped around Bella's waist. "After everything we've been through, I thought I'd lost everything. But now I know what's truly important." Bella smiled, resting her head against his chest. "We've come through it all, Nathaniel. And now we're building something even better. A life together." Nathaniel kissed the top of her head, his heart swelling with love. Together, always. And with that, the future seemed bright, filled with love, hope, and the promise of a new beginning. The battle against Vivian Collins and the subsequent corporate challenges had taken their toll on Nathaniel and Bella. But now, with the threat finally behind them, they stood at a crossroads. Carter Enterprises was secure again, its future assured. But there were still questions to be answered about their personal lives and the price they had paid to get to this point. Nathaniel sat in his penthouse office, staring out the window at the city below. The lights of New York twinkled in the distance, a symbol of the world he had conquered and the empire he had built. Yet, as he looked at the skyline, he felt a pang of uncertainty. For so long, he had been consumed by ambition, but now the question loomed. What was the point of all this success if he didn't have the one thing that mattered most? Bella, she had stood by him, supported him, and fought alongside him through the darkest moments of his life. Nathaniel had come to realize that the power he had sought for so long was meaningless without her by his side. He needed her more than anything else. But could he ever truly be the man she deserved? Could he provide the kind of future that would make her happy, free from the shadows of their past? Bella walked into the office, her eyes searching for Nathaniel. She had always known when something was on his mind, even if he tried to hide it. Nathaniel looked up as she entered, offering a small smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Something's on your mind," she said, her voice soft but firm. Nathaniel sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I'm thinking about the future, Bella, about us, about what comes next." Bella raised an eyebrow. "You mean with the company? Or with us?" Nathaniel turned to her, his gaze intense. "Both." He stood up and walked toward her, his steps slow but purposeful. "The company is safe for now, but things have changed. I've changed. I've spent so much of my life chasing success, I never stopped to think about what truly matters. And now I have to ask myself, what do I want? What do we want?" Bella's heart skipped a beat as she listened to him. She had always known Nathaniel was a man of great ambition, but hearing him say those words brought something new to the surface of vulnerability that he had never shown before. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Nathaniel reached out, taking her hand in his. "I mean, I've spent so much time trying to build an empire, I've neglected the one thing that makes it all worthwhile. Our future, our life together. I've always thought that success would give me everything I needed. But I've realized that it's you, Bella, who completes me." Tears welled up in Bella's eyes as she listened to his words. "Nathaniel," she whispered, her voice breaking, "you don't have to prove anything to me. You've already given me everything I need, your love, your trust. That's all I ever wanted." Nathaniel cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing away the tears that had started to fall. "I don't want to lose you, Bella. I know I've made mistakes. I've put business before you, before us. But I'm ready now. I'm ready to put everything into building a future with you." Bella's heart swelled with love. She had always believed in him, in their relationship, and now she knew without a doubt that their love was stronger than any obstacle they had faced. "I'm ready too," she said, smiling through her tears. "We'll face the future together, Nathaniel, no matter what comes." In the days that followed, Nathaniel and Bella took the necessary steps to secure both their future and the future of Carter Enterprises. Nathaniel made a public announcement about the restructuring of the company to ensure that no one could ever again take advantage of the vulnerabilities left by Vivian's manipulations. He also re-established relationships with key investors, showing them that he was still the visionary leader they had trusted in the first place. But more importantly, Nathaniel and Bella took time to rebuild their relationship. They learned to balance their ambitions with their love for each other. They spent quiet evenings together, talking about their dreams, their fears, and their hopes for the future. It wasn't always easy, but they had learned the value of trust and communication, and they knew they were stronger for it. Nathaniel knew he could never go back to the man he had. Benhi had outgrown that version of himself. The man he was now was someone who valued love and connection more than business or power. And with Bella by his side, he felt ready to take on the world, but this time it would be with her, not in spite of her. Months passed, and as Vivian's influence continued to fade, she found herself alone. Her attempts to reclaim what she had lost had failed, and the damage she had done to her own reputation was irreparable. Nathaniel had not only protected his business, but had also protected his relationship with Bella. Vivian, on the other hand, had lost everything. One afternoon, Nathaniel received a call from his lawyer. "Vivian is being sued for fraud," the lawyer explained. "She's trying to recover some of her assets through questionable means, and it looks like she's facing serious legal consequences." Nathaniel didn't feel any satisfaction hearing this. He had moved on from the game Vivian had played, and he wasn't interested in her downfall. He had already won. He had the one thing that mattered most. Bella, Nathaniel, and Bella stood together on the balcony of his penthouse, watching as the sun set over the city. The world around them seemed to glow in the fading light, a reflection of the new life they had built. "We've come a long way," Nathaniel said softly, his arm around Bella, "and I don't think I could have done it without you." Bella leaned against him, smiling up at him. "We've been through so much, but now it feels like everything is falling into place." Together, Nathaniel kissed the top of her head, his heart full of gratitude. "I promise you, Bella, I'll never take you for granted again. We've fought for this love, and now we'll keep it safe. Together, forever." Bella smiled, her eyes shining with love. Together, forever. They stood there in silence, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it hand in hand, with the strength of their love guiding them through anything life had to offer. Months had passed since the chaos caused by Vivian's manipulations had subsided. Nathaniel and Bella had worked tirelessly to rebuild what had been broken. Carter Enterprises was thriving once again, stronger than ever, and their personal relationship had evolved into something deep and unshakable as Nathaniel looked out the windows of his office. Overlooking the city he had conquered, he couldn't help but feel a sense of peace. The empire he had built was no longer just a monument to his ambition. Now it was a reflection of his growth, his choices, and most importantly, the woman standing by his side. Bella had shown him what it meant to live with integrity, to love with abandon, and to build a future not just for himself, but for the people he cared about. He had learned that love, not power, was the driving force behind true happiness. But there was still one thing left to do. In the last few weeks, Nathaniel had been working on a proposal that would secure the future of Carter Enterprises and ensure that it stayed in the right hands. He was ready to step down as the CEO, not because he was incapable, but because he had finally understood that he didn't need to carry the burden of it all alone. He turned to Bella, who had been his partner in both business and life. It was time to ask her the most important question of their journey together. "Bella," Nathaniel began, his voice filled with both excitement and nervousness. "I've been thinking about the future, about everything we've been through. I want to make sure Carter Enterprises is in good hands, and I can't think of anyone better to lead it than you." Bella blinked in surprise, her heart racing. "Nathaniel, you want me to be the new CEO?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. He nodded. "Yes, you've been with me through it, all helping me, guiding me. I trust you more than anyone else in the world. You're the right person for the job. Bella, I want you to be the one who takes this company to the next level." Tears welled up in Bella's eyes as she looked at Nathaniel, overwhelmed by the trust and love he was showing her. "I don't know what to say. This is everything I've ever wanted, but I never imagined it would come like this." Nathaniel reached out, taking her hand in his. "I believe in you, Bella, and I know that together we can do more than just run a company. We can create something that stands the test of time, not just for us, but for everyone who believes in us." Bella squeezed his hand, her voice steady as she replied, "Then let's do it, together." The announcement of Bella's promotion to CEO of Carter Enterprises was met with enthusiasm and applause. The business world had been watching Nathaniel's every move, and when he chose to step aside for Bella, it wasn't just a personal decision, it was a bold statement about his values. Nathaniel didn't just build his company, he built a legacy of trust, integrity, and love. And now Bella would continue that legacy. She was ready, and Nathaniel knew that she was the one who would carry the torch and lead the company to even greater heights. But more than just their business future, they were ready to build a life together. They had been through so much betrayal, doubt, manipulation, but they had come out stronger on the other side. They had proven that love, when built on trust and respect, could conquer anything. The wedding wasn't long before Nathaniel and Bella found themselves planning their wedding. It was an intimate affair, with close friends and family people who had stood by them through thick and thin. The ceremony was held in a beautiful garden, surrounded by flowers, the sun shining down as they exchanged vows. "I promise to love you," Nathaniel said, his voice full of emotion, "to cherish you in every way possible. I will stand by you, protect you, and fight for our future, no matter what it takes." Bella smiled, her heart full. "And I promise to always stand by you, Nathaniel, to love you through the hard times, to support you, and to build our dreams together. You're my everything." As they exchanged rings, their hearts beat in perfect unison. The crowd cheered, but for Nathaniel and Bella, the world seemed to stop. In that moment, they knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together, side by side. A year later, Carter Enterprises had flourished under Bella's leadership, surpassing even Nathaniel's greatest achievements. Together, they had forged a path not just for themselves, but for the company's future generations. Nathaniel, now a founder and advisor, was content knowing that his legacy was in the right hands, And in their personal life, Nathaniel and Bella had never been happier. They had traveled the world, built new experiences, and created the life they had always dreamed of. Their love was stronger than ever, unshaken by the storms they had weathered together, as they stood hand in hand on the balcony of their penthouse, watching the sun set over the city they had conquered. Nathaniel knew that this was just the beginning. No more doubt. No more fear, Nathaniel said, his voice steady with certainty. We've built this together, and now we get to enjoy it together. Bella smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. Forever, she whispered. The future was bright, and together they would face it with love, strength, and unwavering commitment. The storms of the past were behind them, and the horizon ahead was full of promise.